Hey, Joe, what do you got for us tonight?
In this 14th and final part of our series on Jim Jones and the People's Temple, we cover Leo Ryan's volatile visit to Jonestown, his attempt to help several defectors escape, and the terrible tragedy that ultimately resulted from Jim Jones' total inability to accept even one single defection.
Quiet your mind. Ever since the Earth has circled the sun, there have been fantastic tales of wonder and mystery that the fate of heart dare not discuss. But three brave, uninformed souls have the brass to tackle every extraordinary happenstance, from the modern age to the dawn of Mantis.
Welcome to Dawn of Mantis. True crime, mysteries, and more. Not a lot of mystery on this one, though, Joe.
No, we know how this ends.
Yeah. Crazy. It's been a long road.
Yes.
I'm not glad we're here, but I am going to be glad it's over. But I don't like the ending.
No, and this is a big episode. We got a lot to pack in. We have several clips towards the end here. Like I said, the entire ending of this deal was recorded on cassette tape. And like I said, in the last episode, we're not going to play any of the death and mayhem part. Don't worry about that. But there is certain aspects of it that, I think y'all need to hear personally.
Yeah, let's get on with the terrible show.
So Leo Ryan knew the situation was volatile and moved quickly. He collected all of the defectors' passports and had his staff members accompany them to their cabins to collect their things. All the while, Jim and Marceline were trying to convince them to stay, but to no avail. Jim was growing visibly angrier by the second. In an attempt to calm him down, Mark Lane made the very valid point that even though there were a few defectors, their numbers were minuscule compared to the population of Jonestown.
Yeah.
Like 10, 15, 20 out of 900?
Yeah.
Not bad.
Let them go.
Yeah. Well, so counting the 11 who'd slipped out into the jungle that morning, who I think they may have knew about by that point, total at that point were 26 total defectors out of over 900 people. So Mark Lane pleaded with Jim that, this was actually a victory. Despite all of the concerned relatives' claims and Congressman Ryan's efforts, less than 3% of Jonestown was leaving.
You're ahead on the scoreboard, Jim.
By a mile! Surely that would prove that overall the settlement was a success and the vast majority of people were happy there. It may even cause Jim's detractors to cool their heels. Of course, none of that mattered to Jim, who took the defection of just one follower as an earth-moving betrayal. But 26? 26?
Yeah.
At once? Oh. As the truck pulled up to haul everyone out of Jonestown, a man named Al Simon suddenly came running up, a child under each arm, begging to leave as well.
Wow.
But as they began to climb onto the truck, Al's wife, Bonnie, appeared and tried to wrestle her children out of his arms. So she was still loyal to Jim, and the couple screamed at each other over, who would keep the kids where.
Wow.
Congressman Ryan stepped in and told the couple, look, instead of riding out on this truck, I'll stay here in Jonestown with you for another night, and maybe we can work something out. So he's still trying to help. Now, this is where shit is just happening all at once, all over the place. As all of this drama was unfolding, Jim Jones stood watching from behind his dark glasses. At his side were his trusted inner circle, Patty Cartmel, Maria Katsaris, Jack Beam, and Jim McElvain. The group performed a bizarre huddle and whispered to each other for a few moments, after which someone rushed away from the group towards the pavilion. A few moments later, Larry Layton appeared at the truck. Now, remember, he's been a fanatical follower of... He was the guy Jim stole 2 wives from.
Yeah.
Still a fanatical follower. He shows up at the truck and he said, hey, I just decided I want to defect also.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's what the others thought too. They knew this guy would never defect in a million years. His supposed defection did seem suspicious to everyone. Something was up. But by that time, it was nearly 3 p.m., and there was the possibility that the pilots waiting back at Port Kaituma would grow impatient and fly back to Georgetown without them. So everyone was just like, let them on. Let's just go. Let's just go. We got to get out of here now. Not long after the truck pulled out of Jonestown, while Congressman Ryan stood under the pavilion talking to Mark Lane and Charles Gary, a knife-wielding man charged him from behind, yelling, "Motherfucker, you're going to die!" I mean, that's what he yelled. I'm sorry. That's what he yelled. It's historical record.
Yeah.
Thankfully for Ryan, Gary, Lane, and Tim Carter were able to intercept the man just as he slashed at the congressman's throat, but missed. The assailant was a shy, unassuming man named Don Sly. He was basically a teddy bear of
Sly
a guy.
I was thinking the same thing.
That's you.
He was a teddy bear?
Yes.
Okay.
Not in this moment.
Sounds like a Freddy bear.
Freddy Fazbear. No, normally he was a real quiet, shy, really sweet guy. Okay?
Yeah.
So that's immediately why everyone was like, Jim just told him to do this.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone just immediately assumed that.
Of course.
Yeah. So understandably, after this incident, Ryan was like, I don't think I'm going to stay here another night. Actually, I am going to leave after all.
Yeah.
I'm going to go catch that truck.
Yeah.
So thankfully, the truck that, left a few minutes ago that was carrying everybody, it had gotten stuck in the mud. Because remember, we just talked about that torrential rain in the last episode.
Yeah.
So the truck was stuck in the mud and someone had sent back for a tractor to push it out. So as that was happening, Congressman Ryan's like, hold on, wait for me. And he gets on the truck.
Okay.
He asked Consul Dwyer to remain in Jonestown with the Simons and continue to try to reach a resolution concerning their children. So Leo said he'd be back the following day to collect Dwyer and anyone else who wanted to leave. As Jim stood and watched 15 of his followers leave Jonestown, Mark Lane again tried to put a positive spin on the situation. He said, quote, "Except for Don's attack, things went well." Sorry.
Except for that one thing.
Tried to kill him. Only a few people wanted to leave. Jim coldly replied, "If they take 20 today, they'll take 60 tomorrow." And he stomped off to his cabin.
I hate to say it, man, but he's kind of right.
I
mean, I don't want to say that.
Well, he was right that more would leave. Just he wasn't right in what he did.
Yeah, okay.
So yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
Not far away, 8 men, all carrying rifles, climbed onto a tractor trailer and also began the trip to Port Kaituma, which despite being just 6 miles away, would be about an hour-long journey because the roads were muddy and terrible. So unbeknownst to most of Jonestown, Jim had spent the previous night with a few of his inner circle, detailing what they now considered an imminent mass suicide. As Congressman Ryan's truck was sputtering towards Port Kaituma, followed not too far behind by the group of armed henchmen Jim referred to as his Red Brigade, Jim radioed Sharon Amos at the Temple office in Lamaha Gardens in Georgetown and asked to speak with his son, Jim Jr. Later, Jim Jr., who was in Georgetown on the basketball team, that's why he lived. Later, he recalled, and this is his words, "Dad said, you're going to meet Mr. Fraser," which was code for, we're all about to kill ourselves.
Wow.
They already had a code word for it. We're going to go meet Mr. Fraser. Jim's other son, Stephen, soon joined Jim Jr. and Sharon and was told the same thing by Jim, but neither Stephen nor Jim Jr. planned on dying that day. However, Stephen knew Sharon wouldn't hesitate to kill herself if father ordered it, so he asked his brother to stay there and keep watch over her while he went out and tried to figure some other way to stop his dad from killing 900 people.
Yeah.
Ryan and his group arrived at Port Kaituma Airfield at 4:15. Just a few minutes later, a twin-engine Otter plane and a 5-seat Cessna landed at the tiny airstrip. But there was an issue. In all, 33 people were set to leave that day, and the combined seating of the two planes was only 24. Obviously, over to our science department.
Yeah. That's not enough.
That is, yeah. Obviously, every single person wanted the hell out of there fast, and the group began to argue about who would go right away and who would have to stay and be picked up the following day. The defectors insisted they were in the most danger, as Jim could change his mind at any moment and send his henchmen to collect them.
Which he has already.
He already has.
Yeah.
Because as this was happening, the tractor pulling the trailer and the Red Brigade slowly rolled up near the runway, and the 8 men on board stood and carefully watched Ryan and his group. As you probably already guessed, Jim had decided the night before that the jig was up, the ride was over, it was time to give the order for his people to commit suicide. But Jim knew they'd need a concrete reason, something that would scare them into believing death was better than continuing on. That's when he decided that Congressman Ryan must die. So Ryan was a dead man from the afternoon before, the previous day, it had already been decided, He was dead. He just didn't know it, but he was not leaving alive. After that, Jim could claim that Jonestown was about to be crushed under the might of the U.S. and Guyanese forces. Their children would be tortured or slaughtered or both. Their elderly would be beaten or imprisoned. All of Jonestown, everything they'd worked so hard to build, would go up in flames. So yes, Jim had instructed Don Sly to kill Ryan the previous day. When that failed, he had instructed Larry Layton to pretend to be a defector so that he could get on board that plane. Then once they were in the air, Larry Layton would shoot the pilot and intentionally crash the plane, killing Ryan and all the defectors at once. But then more defectors showed up, and there was another plane, right? Well, Larry can't be on two planes at once to kill both pilots. Now what to do? Well, that's when Jim said, screw it, all right? He'll send the Red Brigade out, and he gave him orders. Well, he claims in the death tape, I know what they're doing. I didn't order it, but I know what they're doing. He ordered it. Give me a freaking break. He ordered it. But he told him, you follow him to the airstrip, and I'll be damned if you let those planes leave. You kill everybody. So yeah, he had ordered the Red Brigade to kill all of them, and that would give him the perfect opportunity to go ahead with the green light on meeting Mr. Fraser. Just as the group was about to board the Cessna, the Red Brigade fired up their red tractor and rolled onto the airstrip. NBC correspondent Don Harris said, and these are, I think, his last words, I think we've got trouble. Just seconds after Harris uttered that fateful warning, someone yelled, hit the dirt. And that's when all hell broke loose. Although the defectors had convinced Ryan to frisk Larry Layton before allowing him on the plane, he'd apparently missed the pistol hidden in his waistband because Larry pulled it out and fired on Vernon Gosney and Monica Bagby before Dale Parks wrestled the gun away from him. At that same moment, the Red Brigade opened fire on the group. Patricia Parks, who was just climbing the steps to get on board the plane, was struck in the back of the head and died instantly. After that, the people standing on the runway began to drop like flies. Congressman Leo Ryan, Don Harris, Greg Robinson, and NBC cameraman Bob Brown were killed. Anthony Katsaris, Jackie Spear, Charles Krause, Beverly Oliver, Richard Dwyer, Tim Reiderman, and soundman Steve Sung were also hit but survived, some just barely, especially Jackie Spear. We'll get into her ordeal. She was hit like 5 or 7 times, and she lived.
Holy crap.
The people who'd already boarded the plane pulled the door shut the moment the shooting began and anxiously peeked out their windows to see what was going to happen next. They could easily pry the plane door open and massacre everyone inside like fish in a barrel, but instead, they returned to the tractor and drove back towards Jonestown. It all happened in just seconds, There's video of that.
Crazy.
Until Steve Sung.
Because of the cameraman? Or?
Yeah, they're filming people getting on the plane, and you start to hear people scream and some gunshots, and then the camera falls over and it cuts.
Wow.
Even that is on film.
Holy crap.
It's insane, yeah. When the dust had settled, 5 lay dead on the airstrip and 9 lay wounded to various degrees. Jackie Spear was shot 5 times and miraculously survived. During the entire ordeal, several members of the Guyanese army were standing just a few feet away at the other end of the airstrip.
They didn't do anything?
They didn't do a damn thing. Later, they said...
Wasn't their jurisdiction?
Well, here's a quote from one of them. It was Americans shooting Americans, and we were afraid that if we intervened, we'd get blamed for something. They were probably just like, not my job. I don't know. It's crazy Americans shooting Americans.
I was about to say something, but man, that's tough.
Yeah. I don't know if I blame them. They didn't know what was going on.
A lot of people had to know how crazy all that is, Jonestown was. So they were just like, well, crazy's being crazy.
Yeah. We're not getting in it.
Yeah. I don't know. It's tough.
Well, unfortunately, landing at the Port Kaituma airstrip at night was basically impossible, so help would not arrive for the wounded until the following day.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, a few Kaituma locals secured Larry Layton and took him to the local jail, while the members of Ryan's group who hadn't been shot covered the 5 bodies with blankets and gathered the wounded inside a nearby building to try to keep them alive until help came. Although the Otter plane was damaged in the chaos and could not fly, the Cessna could, and it did. So as this was going on, the pilot of the Otter and the pilot of the Cessna jumped on that plane and flew the hell out of there, empty, leaving everybody behind.
Wow.
Yeah, they were just like, see ya. So if they could have hung out just another 5 minutes, they could have loaded all the injured people on the plane, and they would have gotten help like 22 hours before they finally did, or however long it was. It was a long time.
Holy crap.
Back in Jonestown, Jim had gathered everyone under the pavilion for an emergency meeting. This was nothing new, and the settlers probably expected it. They were like, it was a stressful day. Father probably just needs to air some things out. But it was not that kind of meeting. When Tim Carter saw Jim, Marceline, Richard Trop, Mark Lane, Charles Gary, Johnny Brown, and Jim McElvain in a quiet huddle, he sensed what was about to happen and knew he had to escape, along with his wife and child. He pulled Jim aside and said, Father, let me take Gloria and Malcolm. I'll go back to kill Tim Stone. So Gloria was his wife, Malcolm was his little son. He said, let me take them. I'll go back to America. I'll find Tim Stone and I'll kill him as revenge for this. Very clever, because he wasn't really going to do it.
Yeah.
Jim shot Tim a sharp glance and replied, will you kill Malcolm first? Let me think about it. We don't really let the hand know what the hell he meant by that, but anyway. And then he walked onto the pavilion stage. Now, little Malcolm was just 15 months old, by the way. This tugged at me, man, because that's the age of my baby,
Yeah.
She's 16 months old, but God. Just then, Maria Katsaris tapped Tim on the shoulder and asked her to come with him. Along the way, they grabbed Tim's brother Mike as well and walked away from the crowd to a small building near the radio room. At the same time, Jim began his final meeting. Now, he decided to tape it, and thanks to that, we know exactly how it started, and it started like this.
How very much I've loved you. How very much I've tried my best to give you the good life. But in spite of all of that I've tried, a handful of our people with their lies have made our life impossible. There's no way to detach ourselves from what's happened today. Not only we're in a compound situation, not only are there those who have left and committed the betrayal of the century. Some have stolen children from others, and they're in pursuit right now to kill them because they stole their children. And we are sitting here waiting on a powder keg. I don't think this is what we want to do with our babies. I don't think that's what we had in mind to do with our babies. It was said by the greatest of prophets from time immemorial, no man takes my life from me, I lay my life down. So to sit here and wait for the catastrophe that's going to happen on that airplane, it's going to be a catastrophe. Almost happened here. Almost happened. The congressman was nearly killed here. But you can't steal people's children. You can't take off with people's children without expecting a violent reaction. And that's not so unfamiliar to us either. Even if we were Judeo-Christian, if we weren't communists, the world, the kingdom suffereth violence, and the violence shall take it by force. If we can't live in peace, then let's die in peace. We've been so betrayed. We have been so terribly betrayed. But we tried, and as Jack Beam often said, I don't know where he's at right this moment. Where's Jack? He said, if this only worked one day, it was worthwhile. Because what's going to happen here in a matter of a few minutes is that one of those people on that plane is going to shoot the pilot. I know that. I didn't plan it, but I know it's going to happen. They're going to shoot that pilot, and down comes that plane into the jungle. And we had better not have any of our children left when it's over, because they'll parachute in here on us. I'm telling you just as plain as I know how to tell you, I've never lied to you. I never have lied to you. I know that's what's going to happen. That's what he intends to do. And he will do it. He'll do it. Fortunately, being so bewildered with many, many pressures on my brain, seeing all these people behave so treasonous, it was just too much for me to put together. But I now know what he was telling me, and it'll happen. If the plane gets in the air, even. So my opinion is that we be kind to children and be kind to seniors and take the portion like they used to take in ancient Greece and step over quietly, because we are not committing suicide. It's a revolutionary act. We can't go back. They won't leave us alone. They're now going back to tell more lies, which means more congressmen, and there's no way we can survive. Anybody wish to? Anyone that has any dissenting opinion, please speak.
We can't survive. Well, yeah, you can't.
No.
When you drink poison, you don't.
And hear how he sounds like, I've never heard him sound that way before.
No.
So he knows. I mean,
He's never lied to him, though.
I've never, after all the insane screaming and things we've heard him call his people and all the crazy meetings, he begins that with, how I've loved you.
Yeah.
How I've loved you all. It's like, wow, that's weird love. Tough love, maybe.
Yeah. It's worse than tough love.
Well, several minutes after this, after nothing but cheers and shouts of approval, a voice of dissent did finally arise. At the end there, we heard him ask. He at least asked any dissenting. I don't know why, because he wasn't going to listen to them. But remember a woman named Christine Miller, because she is the only person who stood up and challenged Jim on this. The only woman, only person. And we have that here. We have exactly how that interaction took place.
I cannot separate myself from the pain of my people. You can't either, Christine, if you stop to think about it. You can't separate yourself. We've walked too long together.
I know that, but I still think as an individual, I have a right to...
You do, and I'm listening.
What I think, what I feel, and I think we all have a right to our own destiny as individuals.
Right.
And I think I have a right to choose mine, and everybody else has a right to choose theirs.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm. I'm not criticizing. I'm not doing this. What's that?
Go ahead. You're all individual. That's what you're saying.
That's what
Said today. That's what 20 people said today with their lives.
I think I still have a right to my own opinion.
I'm not taking it from you. I'm not taking it from you.
Christine, you're only standing here because he was here in the first place. So I don't know what you're talking about, having an individual life. Your life has been extended to the day that you're standing there because of him.
Voice back there, she has as much right to speak to anybody else, too. No man didn't take our life right now. He hadn't taken it. But when they start parachuting out of the air, they'll shoot some of our innocent babies. I don't want to see this, Christine. Because they got to shoot me to get through to some of these people. I'm not letting them take your jar. Can you let them take your jar?
See John die?
What's that?
You mean you want to see John, the little one who came?
I want to see... Peace.
Are you saying that you think he thinks more of them than other children here?
John.
That's what you're saying?
But you're acting. Do you think I'd put John's life above others? If I put John's life above others, I wouldn't be standing with his jar. I'd send John out. He could go out on the driveway tonight.
Because he's young. They're young.
I know, but he's no different to me than any of these children here. He's just one of my children. I don't prefer one above another. I don't prefer him above you, Jara. I can't do that. I can't separate myself from your actions or his actions. If you'd done something wrong, I'd stand with you. If they wanted to come and get you, they'd have to take me.
We're all ready to go. If you tell us we have to give our lives now, we're ready. I'm pretty sure all the rest of the sisters and brothers are with me.
Yeah, so she's against, everyone's against her.
Yeah. No
She's the
kidding.
one voice of reason, and everyone, that you couldn't understand her very well, but there was
You're
someone
only
in the
here
back.
because of him.
Yeah. And before that, some lady was in the back screaming at her she just got hatred from her peers.
Because of him, a lot of you people won't be standing here tomorrow.
Yeah.
You'd be lying here.
Isn't that crazy? So yeah, that was Christine Miller, who was the one that stood up and challenged Jim. And so everything's happening in quick succession now. Just a few minutes after this exchange, the Red Brigade, they returned to Jonestown and they informed Jim that Congressman Ryan was dead.
At one time, I felt just like Christine felt. But after today, I don't feel anything because the biggest majority of the people that left here were white. And I know really hurt my heart because
Broke your heart, didn't
it broke my heart to think that all of these years that these white people have been with us and they're not a part of us. So we might as well end it now because I don't see.
Talking. The congressman has been murdered. It's all over, all over. What a legacy, what a legacy. But the Red Brigade's the only ones that ever made any sense anyway. They invaded our privacy, they came into our home, they followed us 6,000 miles away. The Red Brigade showed them justice. The congressman's dead. Please get us some medication. It's simple. There's no convulsions with it. It's just simple. Just please get it. Before it's too late, the GDF will be here. I tell you, get moving, get moving, get moving. Don't be afraid to die.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's no convulsions.
Oh, yeah, it's simple. It's easy.
Simple.
But yeah, that's it, man. That's the moment when Jim found out Leo Ryan had actually been killed. And from that point, he was, let's do it fast. Let's get with it. Let's do this.
It's funny that he said in front of 900 people he'd been murdered.
It's the only time he's told the truth in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was murder.
He was murdered.
And they're all fine with it.
Yeah.
Besides
Yeah.
Christine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Besides poor
They're
Christine.
not letting her do anything about it.
Nope. No. And that poor woman died that night. She was force-fed that stuff, you know? All right. As that's going on, back in the building, Maria informed the Carter brothers, remember Tim and Mike, that they'd been selected for a secret mission. They and Mike Prokes were going to carry 3 suitcases full of cash to the Russian embassy in Georgetown. She handed them pistols and then led them to Jim's personal cabin where Mike Prokes and Carolyn Layton were typing letters and shuffling through documents. Maria handed them the suitcases and said, quote, "Have a nice life. If you're caught, kill yourselves." Is that understood? They lied and said, yeah, sure. Oh, yeah. Well, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You know us. We'll follow that rule to the letter.
Exactly. So Tim especially was like, oh, yeah, no problem. Knowing in the back of his mind, I'm not leaving without my wife and daughter.
Yeah.
You know, Gloria and Malcolm. He told Maria that he wanted to ask Father if they could at least get a ride to the temple gate to save some time. And this was just an excuse to get back to the pavilion and grab his wife and son. So Tim raced back there, but it was too late. Just minutes earlier, after the news of Ryan's death, the temple nurses had already begun administering the cyanide-laced flavor aid. It was decided the children would go first. Tim arrived just in time to see Nurse Sharon Cobb squirt a syringe full of poison into his 15-month-old son's mouth. That was hard to read, Jesus. And I wrote it. Let's be clear about exactly what was administered that night. Death by cyanide is not peaceful. It prevents the body cells from being able to absorb oxygen in the blood. The result is slow, agonizing suffocation. In her book, The Poisoner's Handbook, Deborah Blum wrote, quote, "The last minutes of a cyanide death are brutal, marked by convulsions, a desperate gasping for air, a rising, bloody froth of vomit and saliva, and finally a blessed release into unconsciousness."
Wow.
It officially got heavy in here.
Yeah, it did for sure.
Jim shook Tim's hand and said, "I'm sorry it had to end this way. I love you." I wish Tim would have punched him in his fucking face right then, just as hard as he
Knock
possibly
those
could.
Stupid glasses off.
Man, it's just crazy. Tim then turned around to his wife and child lying on the grass a few yards away. God, I got to read more. Surrounded by others who had taken the poison, he knelt beside his dying wife and son and held them in his arms. Gloria already had froth on her lips and tears running down her cheeks. He repeated, "I love you so much," until their convulsions had stopped and they passed away. Tim later said that it was at this moment he knew he had to get out and survive at any cost. He ran back to the building where his brother Mike and Mike Prokes were waiting. The 3 men grabbed the suitcases and fled Jonestown. But they weren't the only ones who escaped death that night. Longtime follower and whipping boy Stanley Clayton had slipped out into the jungle during the chaos. Also, Temple attorneys Mark Lane and Charles Gary had somehow sweet-talked their way past the guards to make their run for freedom. As I mentioned in an earlier episode, Odell Rhodes had also snuck away and hid under a building until he made his run into the jungle. Another settler named Grover Davis also avoided death, but there was no sneaking about it. He simply walked away from the insanity. When a fellow settler, who just happened to be Ray Jones, husband of Jim Jones' daughter Agnes, stopped him and asked him, "Where you going?" Grover replied, "I don't want to die." To his credit, Ray just shrugged and said, "Okay, have a nice life." And he let him go. So
There's that.
there's that. I'm trying to find a silver lining in
No,
this
it's
shit heap.
tough. Yeah. It's tough, man.
By 6 p.m., the Jonestown nurses had finished murdering almost 300 children. Then it was the adults' turn. As you can hear in the Jonestown death tape, many of them thanked Jim for all he'd done and for the opportunity to die. As one woman drank the poison, she shouted, "Go on, Zion, thank you, Dad." But of course, there were some who did not want to die. One teenage girl had to be held down for the flavor aid to be poured in her mouth, and even then she spat it out several times. Others were held at gunpoint and forced to drink the potion, while others were simply injected with it. At one point on the tape, as someone is screaming that they don't want to die, Jim can be heard saying, "Lay down your life with dignity. Stop these hysterics. This is not the way people who are socialist, communist are supposed to die." You're right. It's not. Even Marceline, who had been watching with horror from the side, eventually had an outburst screaming, "You can't do this." This is one of the more infamous parts of the death tape because Jim responds, "Mother, mother, mother, please, mother, please. Please don't do this. Lay down your life with your children, but don't do this." Then there were the many elderly and bedridden settlers in Jonestown. A few people were dispatched to carry a jug of poison to the nursing home building to administer to them. They were all killed, with the exception of an old woman named Hyacinth Thrash, who was sleeping so soundly they falsely thought she was already dead.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah. There's a little more on her in a minute. It's miraculous.
That's the best sleep of her life.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, brother. Yeah. Back at the pavilion, Jim Jones stood amongst the piles of bodies. It had taken less than half an hour to kill 908 people.
That's crazy.
Because the Jim Jones death tape is, Jonestown death tape, I think it's 44 minutes long. I think it's at the 20-minute mark or close to where they discover Congressman Ryan's dead and they get the poison. It's so 24, 25 minutes
That's
to the
true,
end.
yeah.
It's quick, man. It's quick. Now, I don't know this, but I assume Jim was the very last one standing. Don't you think he would have, as the creator of all this,
Looked around at what he did and then took his shot?
Yes. I cannot see it any other way than he was the last alive human being standing out there. And I also imagine that he stood there for a while, surveying the death and carnage he'd caused. Then he placed a pistol to his head and pulled the trigger.
Wait, he didn't even take the
That's
stuff?
No.
I didn't know that.
Nope. He did it the easy way.
Oh my gosh. Well, yeah, he watched 900 people do it the other way.
Yeah, he's like, nope.
What a hypocrite.
Then he shot himself. So he didn't feel a thing. He didn't have to endure.
That makes me more mad than anything.
I know.
Yeah.
God.
Because I was
I
waiting for
know.
that part. Then Jim took the cyanide laced flavor aid and began to convulse.
Nope. I wish everyone could have seen you. Both your heads whipped around like, what?
Yeah,
As he
I know.
pulled the trigger.
Yeah.
Yeah, he took the easy way out.
The easiest.
Easiest, yeah.
Easier.
Man, if 900 zombies could have stood up and just, are you kidding me right now?
Yeah.
All those people that just did that, if they would have known that he did that,
Yeah, because they thought for sure he was going to go the way they went.
Yeah. And honestly, before I dove into this research, when this was just a crazy story that I'd kind of heard about, I always thought he drank it as well. I didn't know.
wow. Okay.
But Jim's was not the last casualty that occurred that night. Back at the temple office in Lamaha Gardens in Georgetown, Sharon Amos was fully aware of what had just happened out in Jonestown, and she had her own orders to follow. She, along with Chuck Beekman, took her 3 children, 21-year-old Leanne, 11-year-old Krista, and 10-year-old Martin into the bathroom.
What?
Yeah. They also took 9-year-old Stephanie Morgan. Sharon and Leanne produced knives and slit their own throats, while Chuck slashed the throats of the kids.
What the?
By the time Stephen and Jim Jones Jr. kicked the door in, everyone was dead except Chuck and Stephanie, although he had just slashed her. Thankfully, little Stephanie survived. Chuck was drug out and arrested.
Why didn't they just kill him?
I know, right?
Like, why not just take the knife, kill him, and say he did it himself?
I know, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
That's what he deserved.
I know. We're so pissed at this.
Yeah.
This is a crap episode. I don't want to do it anymore. Okay. News of Congressman Ryan's death reached the U.S. State Department at 9 p.m. that night and was announced the following day. It was the first death of a congressman while on official business in American history.
Wow. Yeah, it would be.
Yep.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah, first ever. 1978. We made it. 202 years, 1776.
Just makes me mad all the other people that just wouldn't insist on going behind the scenes and seeing different things and taking their little tour. I mean, you had to know. You had to feel.
Yeah, I think they were just like, not my problem. I don't know. Or they just didn't want to, they knew it would be messy and they didn't want to
It's true.
get their hands dirty. I don't know.
I mean, they're kind of responsible in a way for his death because he went and he dug and he did what they should have done a little bit.
Yep.
But I guess they did enough to where some people did enough. I mean, especially the defectors.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Get him at least down there, but it seems like there's a lot of different paths it could have taken where this would have happened.
Oh, I know. Early Sunday morning, following morning, several Guyanese Defense Force soldiers poured into Jonestown and were obviously horrified at what they discovered. The report back to their superiors simply read, quote, "There's bodies everywhere."
What was their reasoning? Did somebody tell them?
Yeah, they
to
found
go?
out that there had been, all they knew is there had been shootings out there. Something had happened at Jonestown. So yeah,
Okay.
they'd sent the soldiers in just to kind of find out what happened. And they found almost 1,000 bodies just stacked like cordwood everywhere. Crazy. Piles of bodies laid out in rows, scattered like debris. There's pictures of this. I don't suggest it, but
No, I've seen it and I don't ever
me too.
look for it again unless I just stumble upon it and not realize what I'm looking at.
If anything, look at one of the pictures, the aerial photos, because it will really show you the scope. There's the pavilion, and then all around it, in a huge swath all around it, you just see colors, and that's all bodies.
So
Just-
they have like a team of people as they were dying, taking them out and just laying them in rows.
from what I understood, they had 5-10 minutes. So everyone just, from Odell Rhodes, who escaped, he saw people take their drink and then just walk out into the field next to the other person who had just done it and just lay down. So it sounds like, and the pictures, the close-up pictures, again, that I don't suggest, the bodies, there's people holding each other. There's people laying with arms around the person next to. So I think they just went out, drank it, went out there, laid down and
Yeah.
waited. So yeah, I think
Because it wasn't instant.
you're right. Yeah. So yeah, 909 bodies, all died by cyanide except for Jim. And also, I didn't mention a while ago, Annie Moore, who was his personal nurse. She was found in Jim's cottage, also dead from a gunshot. Self-inflicted, or I'm sure it was, I mean,
Yeah.
she was one of his most
Trusted idiots.
Yeah, so of course, she would take her own life. Counting Sharon Amos, her 3 kids, Congressman Leo Ryan, and the others that were killed on the airfield, 918 people had died. As the soldiers covered their faces with rags to shield themselves from the thick, powerful stench of decay, a dazed yet well-rested Hyacinth Thrash stumbled out of her quarters and said, "What happened to everybody?" Remember,
Oh,
she was the
wow.
one that was asleep.
It's the most dark humor ever.
Yeah. So imagine, so she went to sleep the night before thinking everything was fine. She woke up and walked out and saw 900 bodies and was like, what I miss? Right? What happened?
We had a nervous laughter over here.
Yeah. No, it's crazy. It's crazy. But, like Sam says, the best sleep she ever had, man.
Yeah.
Thank God for that. There was also over $1 million in cash recovered from the settlement, including those
That's
suitcases.
crazy.
Yeah, including the suitcases. And another $7 million discovered in various temple bank accounts, and another $6 million in assets.
2-minute showers once a week.
Exactly. This means that Jim had enough money for he and all the Jonestown settlers to live like kings for the rest of their lives. But instead, just like you said, Ivan, he had them cramped in cottages, taking 2-minute showers, wiping with jungle leaves, and toiling in the fields for 12 hours a day. All the while he had like millions and millions and millions and millions and millions.
But don't forget, he also killed them.
And he killed them, yes. I mean,
don't forget that part.
Could you screw over a group of people any harder than that?
No.
No,
that's, yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And they let him do it, you know?
Yeah, they did.
Later that morning, Tim and Mike Carter, as well as Mike Prokes, had been found and arrested, but were soon released to return to Jonestown and try to help identify the bodies. Attorneys Lane and Gary also showed up. On Tuesday, the U.S. military arrived to identify and return the bodies, which proved incredibly difficult.
Yeah.
The hot, humid jungle air had quickly bloated and decayed them, not to mention the damage done by the countless scavenger animals that had feasted on them overnight. It was not good.
Oh, man.
There would have been more suicides back at the People's Temple locations in the U.S. if it weren't for Stephen Jones. He and Jim Jr. had tried everything they could to stop the Jonestown massacre, but their father had severed radio contact right after that last transmission, and they were unable to catch a plane out to the site until it was too late. However, Stephen was able to contact many of his dad's followers in San Francisco and L.A. and plead with them not to commit suicide. One member later recalled, quote, Stephen called us literally every half an hour to make sure we weren't killing ourselves. We would have too if it weren't for him. He's a hero. So
we would have.
I don't know, man.
You know, I was thinking, oh, the phone just rang. Hang on a second. Oh, okay, well, I won't.
We won't do it. Okay. Hey, good for him.
Yeah, it is. It's just the stupidest thing on earth that he had to call.
Mm-hmm. The tragedy of Jim Jones' jungle cult suicide was immediately the biggest story in the world, of course.
Oh, yeah.
The thousands of remaining temple members in America came under heavy scrutiny as they were quickly judged to be dangerous sleeper cells scattered throughout the country, waiting for instructions, like maybe to take revenge on temple defectors or, enemies of Jim Jones. On February 27th, 1980, just 15 months after the Jonestown massacre, Al and Jeannie Mills, remember we talked about them? They were big parts of the concerned relatives. They were shot execution style in their home.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Their 15-year-old daughter, Daphne, was also killed, but their 16-year-old son, Eddie, was uninjured. He said he'd been in his room during the murders and hadn't heard anything. Now, a lot of people think he did it.
Yeah, that's what I was about to ask.
Including maybe me. No one has ever been arrested for the crime, but the two main theories are that either Eddie killed his family or, of course, temple loyalists had murdered them.
It's hard to say. I mean, there's so many people left.
Yeah.
I mean, the suspect list is quite long.
Pretty long. How could Eddie not have heard all those gunshots? Because two of the murders happened across the hall from his bedroom.
Yeah, it's not like it was the 2000s and he's in there playing Xbox with headphones on.
No, it was 1980.
He could have headphones on, but
that loud?
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know.
To be...
Well, they were shot, right?
They were all shot. He was actually arrested for a minute, but he was released. I think that's how that went down. He never served, he was never convicted of it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's weird.
Well, over the coming weeks and months, thousands of People's Temple family members discovered that their loved ones had either committed suicide or been murdered in Jonestown. Tim and Grace Stone learned that their son, Little John Victor, had been poisoned. It was and is the largest mass suicide in American history. With Jim Jones gone, his churches in the U.S. quickly dried up. And on December 6th, just weeks after the tragedy, papers were filed requesting that the organization known as the People's Temple be dissolved. For over 20 years, the organization did some immense good. They fed the hungry, clothed the poor, offered counseling, donated to charities. They broke down racial barriers and fought for equality. But the seeds of the People's Temple destruction had been sown before it even existed. For within Jim Jones was a conflicted, tortured, self-destructive force. A force that was greatly exacerbated by his rampant drug use. Anger, paranoia, delusions of grandeur, and chronic unfulfillment festered within him, and by extension within many of his followers. That's what a cult leader does. He projects his own fears and shortcomings onto other people. Marshall Applewhite, the leader of Heaven's Gate cult, was a deeply conflicted gay man who never came to grips with his sexuality. By extension, his cult was sexless. They all wore the same unisex outfits. They had short, cropped hair. Several men even castrated themselves in an effort to be totally genderless.
He was ahead of his time.
I'm telling you, I know. He's doing what everyone's doing right now.
Yeah. He would have had a huge cult right now.
Yeah.
He would have just been 20 years later. Is that right? Is that about right?
97, I think, was when, yeah, 25, 27 years later. Yeah.
Or 30.
Yeah, almost 30. Damn. To me, the 90s are still like 10 years ago.
Me too.
God.
Yeah, it'll always be 10 years ago. Even 40 years from now.
I know. Jim Jones could have gone down in history as a renowned civil rights leader, a true humanitarian, a hero amongst the poor and downtrodden. But he let his own demons lead him and over 900 unfortunate other souls down a path straight to hell. What occurred in Jonestown has been and will continue to be examined and studied for many years to come as we try in vain to understand the reasoning, the mentality, the psychological phenomena that led to such a tragic outcome. We hope that our series on Jim Jones and the People's Temple has done a decent job at telling the story. And yes, there is much more to tell as far as the aftermath of the tragedy and what happened to the remaining family members. I actually have a few notes right here if we want to get into it really quick. There's a lot more. Like I said, we could have gone on way further, but I think 14 episodes is just about enough.
Yeah.
So real quick. Chuck Beekman, all right, who slashed the children's throats at Lamaha Gardens, he was charged with murder. But the charges were reduced, and evidence suggested he may not have willingly participated in the killings or may have even tried to prevent them. He spent 5 years in a Guyanese prison, but was eventually released and returned to the United States in the 1980s.
How does he not willingly do that whenever he was not even there? He was at another location and he did it willingly.
I don't know. I don't understand that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Jim Jones wasn't there holding anything to his head.
No.
Yeah.
But yeah,
That's pretty willing.
5 years.
Yeah, I think so.
And then he was...
Holy crap.
Tim Stone withdrew from public life for several years before eventually returning to practice law in various California counties. As of the 2010s, he was serving as deputy district attorney in Humboldt County. In 2015, he wrote a book called Marked for Death, My War with Jim Jones, the Devil of Jonestown. Grace Stone also withdrew from public life after the tragedy. She and Tim divorced a year later, and she eventually married another temple defector, the guy Walt Jones that she ran off with. When they first defected, she married him. The two settled in Concord, California, had 2 children, and remained together 32 years until Walt died of cancer in 2013. Archie James, remember him?
Yeah.
He became a street because he was in San Francisco. He never, he left Jonestown and thankfully wasn't out there. But he became a street preacher in San Francisco and continued to organize clothing and food drives. In 1984, there was an interview with him in which he described himself as a widower without possessions, living alone in a loaned trailer. I'm as free as a bird and happy as a lark. He passed away on March 30th, 1993 in Hayward, California at the age of 79. Larry Layton, who fired the first shots on the Port Kaituma airstrip that fateful day, was soon acquitted of any wrongdoing by a Guyanese court based on their opinion that he was under mind control.
Oh my God.
Well, he was extradited to the U.S. and federally charged and convicted of conspiracy to murder a U.S. congressman and aiding and abetting murder. After spending 16 years in a federal prison, he was released in 2002. He remained quiet about the People's Temple era of his life, but expressed great regret anytime he was asked about it. Larry Layton died on November 16th, 2024, at the age of 74, just 2 days short of the 46th anniversary of the Jonestown Massacre. Stephen Jones went on to become one of the most outspoken and thoughtful survivors of the People's Temple, offering candid reflections in interviews, essays, and documentaries. He has expressed a nuanced understanding of the People's Temple appeal, especially its early focus on racial justice and equality, while fully condemning what it became. He also writes essays and gives lectures on how his father's charisma and vision went from idealism to devastation. He married in 1991, has a family. He's currently 66 years old. And last but not least, Jackie Spear, Leo Ryan's 28-year-old assistant who survived the 5 gunshot wounds that day, vowed to continue Ryan's mission of public service. So she went on to earn her law degree and began a career in politics. She served on the San Mateo County Board of Supervisors, then in the California State Assembly and State Senate. She was elected to the U.S. House of Representatives in 2008. She served there until 2023. Today, she is 75 years old and still kicking.
Okay.
Yeah, baby. So that's it, man.
Oh, man.
Take a deep breath.
Yeah, everyone take a deep breath. I mean, I thought I would be like full of rage, but I'm not full of rage.
What are you full of? No, I just mean.
Well, I'm mad.
Yeah.
I'm sad.
Yeah.
I'm a lot of things.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought I would just be so mad at Jim Jones. Obviously, I mean, come on, without saying mental illness times a million.
Yeah.
I'm not making an excuse. I'm just stating a fact.
Yeah, a normal, balanced person doesn't do that.
He was able to gain so much power. His mental illness killed other people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just his charisma, his ability to fearmonger,
manipulate.
I don't know. There's so much. I mean, I think we've been doing a good job. I mean, there's not a whole lot of reason to just say a whole bunch right here because I feel like we've all been doing a pretty good job through this whole series, mainly because we knew how it was going to end, not the details. You did. But I mean, we knew what was going to happen. So I've been kind of kicking it around a lot. I do think that a lot of people realize that this thing ruined their life and they off themselves because they knew that there's no coming back from this. I'm not going to say they were right. I don't know. And obviously the fear that they're just going to parachute in, that was probably a real thing. But
all at once, yeah, you're right. The helplessness, probably they felt helpless.
Sure.
And the devastation in the one woman that said, if you think this is what we need to do, this is what we're going to do,
Yeah, that to me is just, that feels like, yeah, whatever.
Just, all right. You say so.
Not even in a way like where it's like, thank you so much. Just her tone was like, there's nothing else. There's no other alternative.
Screw it. Yeah, your tone was just like, just do it. If we're going to do it, let's do it. And then, of course, there were the people that were just ecstatic about it. Thank you, Father, for allowing us to, I'd rather die beside you than anyone else. And it's just crazy stuff, man.
Yeah. And then he takes the bullet.
Yeah. So there you go, guys. Are we still going to remember how to podcast about something other than Jim Jones?
Boy, I hope so. I
been
need a palate cleanser.
14 weeks, guys. It's been 14 weeks.
I think I actually do feel more mad and worse.
Oh, you do?
At the end of this one than I did at the end of Ken McElroy and Skidmore.
Yeah, there was some justice served there, at least,
Yeah. The townspeople lived at that one.
Yeah.
That's true. I mean, the end of that one, you feel better. But then I remember being kind of mad about that. It's like they had to do that. So somebody shot and they knew that they did it and they had to live with that. I mean, that's not necessarily a happy ending, but I get what you're saying. It is a happier ending.
Yeah.
I was mad at that series like a few episodes before the end.
Yeah.
And the lawyer kept getting them off and all that stuff. But I am mad about the other people that went that could have found more than what they found. Instead of, it looks perfect. Come on, these people that are driven to do this, whenever the guy snapped his fingers, basically, you couldn't have picked up on anything. Come on. This other guy's brave enough to actually say what he actually saw.
Yeah.
Or, he would have said what he actually saw, but brave enough to pull those people out.
Right.
I mean, he could have very well, no, I'm not taking anyone with me. I'm going to go to report what I found.
Right.
But he was at least willing to do that.
Yeah.
And he did save a few people, I guess.
Yeah, because 5 were killed out of 30-something people. So I think only 1 or 2 were actual defectors. Most of the ones that were killed, I think, were members of the media and Congressman Ryan.
Yeah.
So Ryan did save the lives of the people that he had taken out there, the defectors. He did. He saved some lives that day. Gave his own life for those lives.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm sure, obviously, you wouldn't think that even be a possibility. Not in a normal world, that was probably the last thing. I mean, after the guy slashed at him with a knife, he was like, oh, this is a possibility. Before then, I'm a U.S. congressman down here.
Yeah.
No one's going to touch me.
Yeah, and other people had been there before.
Yeah, many, like consuls and U.S. Guyanese officials and U.S. Embassy. All kinds of people have been down there before. So, yeah, why would you think there would be any danger? Even if he's pulling people out. But there's one part of the death tape, I think it's still with Christine Miller. Jim said, do you know how many people left today? And Christine says 20 odd people. And Jim just goes 20 odd. Like she said it as just 20 odd people, but he's like, you can tell he's just boiling.
Yeah. 1 is too many.
Oh yeah. 1 is too many.
Yeah. They were like his possessions.
Mm-hmm.
And I really think the beginning of the end was he was in the U.S. and people started saying things and he had to get out of the United States and all that stuff. I mean, he lost power, and that's even when he got down there, he realized like that's not what he ultimately. We said that a few episodes ago. He didn't ultimately want to end up in the jungle out of the States.
No.
Having to have restrictions of the shower but he had so much money. He's probably one of those people that if you don't got 10 million in the bank, you're broke.
Yeah, I just don't get that part.
Yeah.
Why did they live down there like that when they had millions and millions and millions of dollars?
This is part of his insanity.
With that amount of money, he could have avoided, well, not after the congressman was killed, but if he hadn't killed anybody, no matter what he'd done, and in another country, he had enough money to tangle things up in court with attorneys for the rest of his natural life. And he could live wherever he
Yeah,
wanted.
he should have just let them, if the guy got back and made his report, I mean, I guess it would have just dwindled and dwindled and dwindled. I don't know. I'm not trying to say that they should have done what they've done.
I still think there was a core of at least 400 or 500 who never would have left. Be happy with 500, you
But he's
nutbag.
not. He's too crazy. Declining numbers.
Oh, yeah.
Drove him insane. He was already insane. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Knowing the little bit that I know about his brain, just from these episodes, like he wouldn't have been happy with it.
I wish at that moment he could have been like, all right, new thing. Y'all don't know this, but I got like millions of dollars. Anyone who wants to leave can leave. Anyone who stays, guess what? Everyone gets their own house with cold air conditioning because I got the money for it. We're going to revamp everything around here. It's going to be great. And I'm going to stop treating you like shit too.
Yeah, that's true. They could have done the Russia thing. I think they would eventually got accepted.
Maybe so. I don't know.
mean, especially if you could buy your way in.
Mm-hmm.
If he had all that money, I bet he could have figured out that money's got to work for you somehow.
But then 11 years later, when the wall fell, he probably would have freaked out and killed everybody then. With the Berlin Wall.
Yeah,
wasn't that 89?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Again, I've said this before, but I remember being a 9-year-old kid and walking by, and my dad was in there watching it happen on the news. And I just walked by, and my dad was like, hey, son, come here. And I walked in, and I was like, what? What's going on? And he was like, sit down with me and watch this. And it was just, people breaking parts off of the wall and people all over both sides of it. At the time, I was like, this is boring. And he's like, just sit next to me and watch this. He's like, you need to see this. My dad understood, freaking history, man, major history was occurring right in front of us. And to this day, I'm like, man, I'm glad he did that.
Yeah.
Because I can say now, I sat there with my dad on the couch and we watched the freaking Berlin Wall fall, man. We watched.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I remember the clips, people running around like
oh yeah,
pieces of it and
yeah,
stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So I'm glad he did that.
Yeah.
All right. How do we end this? I've never ended a 14-hour, 15-hour long series before.
Well, first off, thank you everyone for sticking with us.
Yeah.
And if you did this whole series, you deserve a Dawn of Mentis merit badge. Wear it with honor. It's up there with your canoeing and fire building badge.
But it took longer to get, probably.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, it didn't take you 14 episodes to learn how to build a fire. That's easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's called matches.
And I just, again, want to remind everyone, Sam's to blame. It was him 3 months ago that was like, hey, let's do a series on Jim Jones. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, man, I bet this will be like 7, 8, 9, 10 episodes, bro.
A few episodes, we were having some fun. I remember those days.
Swearing for sodas. That was a good one. Yeah, before Jim was too crazy.
Oh, man.
Selling the monkeys. That's been a long road to get here, guys.
Has been. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, well, hey, let's end this thing. Thank y'all for listening. We'll catch you next week. Good night.